like to call to order the North Aurora Village Board meeting of Monday, April 16th, 2018, and we'll open with a silent prayer meditation. Please join me in pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk call the roll.
Mayor Herman.
Here.
Trustee Pino.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Burns. Here.
I have a proclamation. The North Aurora National Volunteer Appreciation Month. Whereas the village of North Aurora has benefited from the service of numerous outstanding volunteers during the year, and whereas an underpinning of a decent and just society is the willingness of the people to work together for the common good, and whereas the positive energy of selfless individuals mobilized in service can stem the tide of social afflictions, enrich our recreational and cultural lives, and safeguard our personal safety, and contribute to the efficiency and positive effect of government services. And whereas volunteering creates an opportunity to better oneself, and whereas it is incumbent upon all of us citizens to salute our dedicated volunteers and celebrate the volunteer programs that contribute to life in the village. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Dale Berman, Village President of the Board of Trustees of North Aurora, on this the 16th day of April 2018, proclaim that April be recognized as National Volunteer Appreciation Month in the village of North Aurora. Dated the 16th day of April 2018, Dale Berman, Village President. I'd like to call on our Chief Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our volunteers who are here tonight who devote their time and energy toward functions for the police department and the village. If you look up the definition of the word volunteer, it is a person who performs a service willingly and without pay. And that is what our volunteers do. Last year, 1,131 hours of time were put in by our volunteers. They do this because they want to, not because they have to. By volunteering their time, they make the jobs of my officers easier, from assisting at North Aurora Days to directing traffic in all kinds of weather to making sure equipment is up and running. The people that you see here definitely make things run smoother, and for that, I am very appreciative. I'd also like to thank Deputy Chief Scott Bezecki, to my left here, who heads up our CERT team. Deputy Chief Bezecki started the program from the ground up, and he makes sure that the program continues to grow and that we always have a great group of volunteers. So at this time, I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize all volunteers with the help of Deputy Chief Bezecki and Sergeant Gorski.
David Lunardini. Jennifer Huber. Steve Lopez. Cheryl Mitchell. And Paul Rodenbach. Keep standing. Switch roles. Chair. Okay, this group is what we call our Bronze Service Award. They've donated more than double the number of hours that we require of our volunteers. The required is 20 hours per year, and this group has done at least 40. So Sherry Linker, Jim Perlstein, Julie Ruiz, and last but not least is our Gold Award winners. This group has volunteered more than 100 hours. So we went from bronze, we didn't have anybody that was in the silver group, which is 80 to 99 hours, and then this group is more than 100 hours in 2017. Harley Linker, Beth Drendel, and Jeff Wong. Thank you.
This is one of those occasions that we all love to share, and I don't know if Chief Fisher or Deputy Chief Kusecki shared with the group that my comments at our State of the Village meeting, but how proud we were, or proud we are, the board is, of your dedication to the village. So appreciate your efforts, and thank you very much for contributing. Thank you, Chief. No audience comments. Trustee comments? Consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Clerk call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. New business, matter number one, Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. With this issue, staff is seeking approval on an agreement with the West Aurora School District Number 129 to add a school resource officer at Jewel Middle School. District 129 and the North Aurora Police Department have agreed to have a uniformed police officer to be the school resource officer for the remainder of the 2017-18 school year at Jewel Middle School. They've also expressed interest in having the resource officer beyond this school year. The resource officer would work 16 hours per week, preferably 2 8-hour days. This would cover the drop-off time in the morning and dismissal time in the afternoon. District 129 has agreed to pay 1/2 of the officer's salary for the hours worked at the school. While at the school, the resource officer would handle any crimes that occur at the school, work with school personnel on any matters they deem necessary, meet and counsel kids, and work on juvenile cases that are already pending. Currently, Jewel Middle School is the only middle school in the district without a police officer assigned to it. Staff is recommending the village board approve the agreement between West Aurora School District 129 and the Village of North Aurora, allowing a North Aurora police officer to work at Jewel Middle School as the school resource officer, effective immediately.
Motion to approve.
Second. Discussion?
I have a question. Do any of the other schools have a resource officer, like Bergen or Schneider?
Yeah, the three that are falling with Aurora's jurisdiction, Hergich, Jefferson, and Washington, all three have an officer.
But not the elementary school. The elementary schools don't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, elementary schools do not, no. None in the West Aurora School District have.
Does Bergen have one?
Hergich?
Bergen.
Yes, they do.
They do?
They do,
They do for Bergen and now Jewel both have one.
yes.
I think it's great that we have an officer that has a good deal of training and experience with the juvenile, and I think having her involved in this would be outstanding. So I don't think there's any anything that, I think there's a reason to have someone there, and it's not, it's to better the situation rather than point out any errors or any problems in the situation. The clerk call the roll, please.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis? Yes. Mayor Vernon?
Yes. Item number 2, Mr. Toth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2 is an ordinance approving map amendment or rezoning for the property located at the northwest intersection of Randall Road and Interstate 88, which is the village-owned property to 1.53 acres, shown on the cursor on the aerial photograph there. The rezoning is to go from the R1 single-family district to the B2 general business district to accommodate the expansion of the parking lot, which is done as part of the Opus East development. This item is on first reading. It has not been discussed by Cal and did receive unanimous approval by the Planning Commission on April 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Now, why was that zoned R1?
I'm assuming it was probably a placeholder at the time.
It's the default. So if the property gets annexed by default, it's R1, unless, there's a zoning process before the annexation. And this property was never included in the original ordinance, even though it came in.
It's our highest and whatever, so I think that's what all properties in it. Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Curtis? Yes. Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Mayor Vernon?
Yes. And number 3, Mr. Toth.
Item number 3 is an approval of a professional services agreement for code enforcement lawn mowing from Cornerstone Properties LLC. The contract last contract was 2016. The village is seeking the contract to perform the nuisance lawn mowing abatements through code enforcement, primarily for vacant and foreclosed properties. Staff are actually advertised for an RFP. We had 2 contractors submit. By default, one did not qualify. The loan applicant or RFP that was submitted by Cornerstone Partners out of St. Charles, Illinois. We actually reached out to their references in some of which municipalities, the city of St. Charles, Carroll Stream, and Montgomery. They did receive glowing admiration from those municipalities for their services. I know they have a lot of other upscale clients in the area as well. There were no comparable costs per acreage, which is part of the RFP. So what we did was I included the table from 2016. So if you compare their rates, what they provided in the packet for quarter acre, half acre cuts, they're still very competitive from the 2016 cuts as well. The last contractor, Green Thumb Brown Boots, did not submit for the RFP, so we are looking to move forward with Cornerstone Partners at this time. And they're here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Just to put this in perspective, I think this year we spent less than $1,000 on code enforcement law abatement.
$391.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis? Yes. Mayor Vernon?
Yes. Item 4, Mr. Laskowski.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the approval of accepting quotes from Hard Rock Concrete Cutters for sidewalk leveling in the amount of $11,918.50. This is one of 3 programs the village has to address hazardous sidewalks. We also address the sidewalk hazards through our annual street maintenance program. And in-house, when there's an emergency that may come up where a sidewalk heaved, the public works guys will remove and replace those. This program basically scores the concrete and makes it level and complies with the ADA standards. This year is the first year we've had competition in this bid, so we've had 2 companies now competing for the contract. So prices came in favorably. The references we checked came back good, so at this time it's a staff recommendation to award this quote to Hard Rock Concrete Cutters for sidewalk leveling.
Second. Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Curtis? Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Mayor Vernon?
Yes. Item 2, or item 5, John.
This is the approval of an ordinance amending Article 16, Chapter 1612, Section 1612.100 regarding storm sewers and sump pump discharges. So what this section is asking is, in the past, when the house, if it has a basement and that basement has a sump pit, there's a sump pump in that pit that pumps out groundwater, and it pumps it out through a pipe to a pipe that's in the street that the village owns. So it's a closed system. Basically, the water collects in this pit, gets pumped out the pipe that's on the property owner's house to our sewer main somewhere in the street. Now, there's certain houses, older houses don't always have sump pumps, and because of that, they have nowhere, their basements are more prone to flooding. So what this ordinance is asking is that individuals who don't have a storm sewer in front of their house, it would allow them, with the approval of staff or the village engineer, to allow them to discharge that water at grade. So maybe in their front yard, maybe in their backyard, maybe in a side yard swale, so that their basement isn't flooding. Because the village doesn't provide storm sewers necessarily all throughout town for every resident. It could be a costly undertaking if we were to extend these storm sewers, say 400 to 500 feet in an older section of town, just to provide service to one resident when the surrounding residents might not even have basements. So in a situation like that, it would be much more cost effective for the village and beneficial to the homeowner to have that option available to them, where they could simply discharge that storm sewer pipe at grade in an area on their personal yard where it wouldn't impact neighbors. So that's the recommendation. I don't know if I mentioned, but it had also gone before Plan Commission and received a favorable recommendation.
Normally, this item would have gone to a committee first, but we put it straight to board because it did go to the Plan Commission. And this issue came up with a homeowner recently, and when we found out that, let's be honest with you, this is what works, how it works. Someone will call in and something like this, either someone will illegally put a sump pump in and not tell the village and they'll just do it, and that's in some of those older areas. Or they'll call us, they'll find out there's a code, and then they'll be like, okay, I can't, now I have nothing to do except have my basement flood consistently. So we did some research, and we were one of the only out of 13 towns, I think it was, there was only one other town that doesn't allow above grade discharge. So we thought it was a no-brainer, thought we'd bring it to the board right away so that this person can get their plumbing working before the rainy season.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Curtis? Yes. Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
And Mayor Vernon?
Yes. Oh, item 6, John.
This item is the award of a bid to Denler Incorporated in the amount of $74,250 for the annual crack sealing project. Crack sealing is an important preventive maintenance technique. It seals the cracks and keeps the water out from infiltrating into the base of the pavement where real damage can occur during the freeze and thaw seasons. So the crack filling project typically targets streets that are 2 to 4 years old. So we want to get those streets just when those cracks are starting to form and seal them up real good so they can extend the pavement life for maybe another 7 to 10 years. So this year we went through the list and selected 28 streets. They're listed in the memo. We did get favorable recommendations from Denler on the work that they've done in other municipalities. So at this time, staff recommendation to award bid for crack sealing in the amount of $74,250 to Denler Incorporated.
Motion to approve.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll, please.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Curtis? Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Mayor Vernon?
Yes. And item number 7. Mr. Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7 is approval of an ordinance amending chapters 13.04 and 13.16 of the Village Code regarding water and sanitary sewer usage fees. As we discussed during the draft budget process, the budget proposed rebalancing the village's water and sanitary sewer rates. We currently have a base charge of $16 on the water rate, which includes the first 3,000 gallons of usage. After that, the current rate is $3.55 per 1,000 gallons, and the sanitary sewer usage rate is 35 cents per 1,000 gallons for a combined rate of $3.90. The attached ordinance, in order to address some increasing costs in the waterworks fund that was discussed during the budget process, and also recognizing that several major projects are completed, about to be completed in the sanitary sewer fund and sanitary sewer system. The attached ordinance would increase the water rate 15 cents and decrease the sanitary sewer rate by 20 cents. So it would be a net decrease of 5 cents per 1,000 gallons used. This change would go into effect essentially June 1st for water used after that period and be effective on the bills issued in August. As we discussed before, the village will still maintain one of the lowest water rates of all communities in the surrounding area.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Curtis? Mr. Villa?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. And item number 8. Mr. Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 8 is a contract with Bluegrass Entertainment. They basically rent out rides for North Aurora Days. And if you recall, last year was the first year that we actually rented rides and brought in a company that provided them at a cost, and then they staffed them during the event. So because of limitations that we've had in the past, we still can't get a full-blown carnival per se. So what we end up getting is companies that will rent out the equipment and actually staff them for a cost. This is the same thing, only, and it's not that much different in price from last year. The only difference is this company offered a larger amount of rides to choose from that we liked, and better rides we thought that might get more ridership. So at this point, we're looking for a contract in the amount of $15,950 to bring to North Aurora Days this year.
Motion approved. Second.
Discussion.
So I have a question. What happens with proceeds of ticket sales? Or does that go back to the village?
Correct.
Did we break even last year?
No, so what happens is the proceeds of all, there's one ride, the Euro 1G ride, that they collect all proceeds from that one ride. All the rest of the proceeds goes back to the village to offset the cost of the actual rental fee. Last year, the total North Aurora Days was somewhere in the red about $4,000 to $6,000. We lost roughly around $4,000 to $6,000 on the rides last year. So that's what it was. We did lose a major sponsor last year, but we gained sponsorships in other areas. So it was, overall, we actually collected, correct me if I'm wrong, but we collected more money than we ever have in sponsorships.
Last year was, I think, maybe the 4th consecutive year that there was an increase in sponsorships for North Aurora Days. So really, the ticket sales, it's a bonus. The rides are meant to provide entertainment. It's kind of part of the whole entertainment package. There's certain things that are provided for people to do as part of the festival. Just happens to be this is one of those things where we're trying to sell tickets and recoup some of the costs, but anything that's not made up as far as the cost is just paid for with sponsorship money.
And are you going to be doing the fireworks again this year at North Aurora Days as well?
That's correct.
So that's probably going to be about what,
10,800.
That's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Call roll, please.
Mr. Villa?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. Item 9.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 9 is an intergovernmental license agreement with Fox Valley Park District. This is for our Independence Day fireworks show, and if you recall, last year we brought it back to the river, and we did them on July 3rd. That's the board thought was a good niche. Not a lot of towns have the 3rd around here. So we actually are going to, the very next item is a contract for fireworks on the 3rd. This intergovernmental agreement is basically we fire the fireworks off from the Fox River Trail. So we need a license agreement from the Fox Valley Park District to allow us to use a portion of their land for the fireworks show.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Call roll.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Villa?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. And item number 10.
Item number 10 is the July 3rd fireworks contract, and this is with Melrose Pyrotechnics. This is the same company that did the 4th of July fireworks last year at the Riverfront Park. So basically, we are entering into the same contract. It was the $25,000 last year as well. Thought they did a good job of bringing them back, and we're just looking for approval tonight.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll, please.
Mr. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis? Mayor Murphy?
Yes. And item number 11.
Item number 11 is an agreement, it's a license agreement to operate fireworks. So just like the Fox Valley Park District agreement, this is for the use of a private piece of land at the corner of Randall and Oak. In order for the North Aurora Days fireworks show, we fire them off from a private piece of property. So once again, we have to have an agreement with that property owner to allow us to shoot the fireworks from their property.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Curtis? Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. And item number 12.
Item number 12 is the contract with for the fireworks at North Aurora Days. This is the same company as last year, Central States. They did a good job, but I think they didn't meet some of the expectations that the North Aurora Days Committee had. So when we met with them right after the show and told them that we had some issues that we wanted them to work out, they immediately discounted part of the show for us before we paid the final bill last year. And then when we met with them again this year, we sat them down and they offered another 10% discount from last year as well. So our show last year was $12,000. This year it's $10,800, so it's $12,000 less than $1,200. Once again, we were going to bring them back anyways. They did a decent job. We just wanted to tweak the show a little bit. So Central States is, we're going to have them again. They're a very reputable company and looking for approval tonight.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk call the roll, please.
Mr. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis? Mayor Murphy?
Yes. No old business, I have nothing to report. Committee reports. Trustee comments. We're favored this evening with our administrator, who is a proud new father. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Do you have any report?
Not getting much sleep. Actually, the only thing I was going to report is with all the fireworks shows, I was so proud last year of how the fireworks worked out down by Riverfront Park. The only issue we had was there just having no bathroom. So this year, I think we're tripling the amount of porta potties that we're going to have. And we want to make a better effort to let people know that we leave the village hall open and the lobby areas for there's actually changing tables and stuff in there.
Very good. Mr. Attorney. I just picked down here, village departments, finance, Mr. Hannah.
No report.
Community development, Mr. Toth.
No report.
Police, Mr. Fisher.
No report.
Public Works, Mr. Pascal.
No report.
We have no executive session. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Cow meeting will start